At this time a week ago, I had a boyfriend and super in love with him. And now I'm single and I wanna know why. Oh, alright. I guess we kind of like to know why too. So what happened? I mean, you wanna know what I think happened or what he told me? Oh, well, it sounds like there's a story here. So why don't we start at the beginning? What is this guy's name? His name is Dan. Okay, so you and Dan were in a relationship? Yes. Correct. How long? Since like March, I think. Oh, okay, so a while then. Yeah. And now you're not in this relationship? Nope. He broke it off with me on Sunday and gave me no explanation. But I think I kind of know why he did it. Okay, so what's your theory? Well, so I asked him if he would like to join my family for Thanksgiving this year. And he said yes. So he came over to my parents' house and was kind of nervous about it. I have a big family, so at Thanksgiving there's like, I don't know, 30-something people there. Oh wow. So you do You do the whole cousins and aunts and uncles and all that. Like my family does. Oh. Yes we do. Okay. So I think we were both kind of nervous too. Because he's a little bit older than I am. So we weren't really sure how the family would react. When you say a little bit older. How much older were you talking? Well, I'm 22, and he's 35. Oh, wow. Okay. So that's, like, over a decade, then. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, first of all, he really does look young for his age. So, like, I don't even think he looks 30. Okay, so was that fact brought up during dinner at all? Not really. Like, I don't even think anyone asked him how old he was. But I heard anyway. Okay. And did the dinner go well in your opinion? Like, did he win over your parents? Yeah. I mean, I know he definitely won over all the women in the family. They thought he was really sweet and really good looking. You know, I was, like, getting compliments about him all day. Okay, so. So dinner goes well, and then what? Well, so then he's getting ready to leave. And he tells me that my family is great and all that, and, that'll talk to me later and stuff. So, okay. So that's Thursday. Then on Friday, I don't hear from him all day. But, you know, I was like, whatever. Just, you know, maybe he's enjoying the day off. Being lazy, whatever. So then on Saturday, we're supposed to hang out. And he doesn't text me, so that was a little weird. So I text him on Saturday. And he was just like, sorry, I can't hang out tonight. How about tomorrow? So I'm still not thinking this is a big deal. And then Sunday he comes over and tells me that he wants to break up. Oh wow. Okay. So he gave you the old 3-day grace period. And then dropped the bomb on you? I mean, basically, yeah. Did he say why he wanted to break up? All he said was that things were going too fast. And he thought a break might be good for us right now. Do you think the whole come over and meet my whole family thing was, like, too much for him? Yeah, that's a pretty intimidating scene. Like, speaking as a dude. Especially if you don't have a big family yourself. Yeah, I just. I really don't think it was I. I think something happened after dinner that freaked him out. Well, okay. I mean, I can tell you we've definitely had this scenario before. Remember, there was a girlfriend who came over to meet the family or something. Or maybe it was a wedding. But she recognized the dude's uncle cause she had dated him, remember? Cause she insisted on leaving out the back door. Oh my gosh, yes. I remember that. That was crazy. Yeah. So. So I guess what I'm asking Carrie is, did your boyfriend ever date your uncle? Ew, I hope not. Okay, I said. Alright. So what do you think happened? So after dinner, it was kind of like all the women were in the dining room. You know, just chatting and doing dessert. And then all the guys were downstairs watching the Redskins game. Okay. So I left him with my dad and my cousins and my uncles and stuff. And I feel like they can be a pretty tough crowd to hang out with. Especially if you're not, you know, like, an insider part of the family. Okay. So I don't know if something was said. Or if someone did something to make him feel like he wasn't welcome. I really don't know. But after the game was over, that's when he decided to leave. And, I mean, like I said, that was the last time I saw him before he just broke up with me. Out of nowhere. Okay. So something was said or done to make him feel bad enough about your family to break up with you? That's. That's the question. Yeah, I guess. Okay. And he didn't mention anything? No. He just kept saying, like, trust me, this is gonna be the best thing for us right now. I wonder if somebody. I wonder if somebody started asking him about the whole age thing. 'Cause I mean, that, you know, would be something I could see them giving him a bunch of crap about. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Okay. So you're trying to find out the real reason behind this sudden break. And not the generic we just need time apart thing. Yeah, I just. I think that's a bunch of bull. I'm not buying it. Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's set up Dan and we call him. Let's pretend we already know the real reason. Like, let's see if he'll kind of admit to us what caused all this. If we say, well, we already know the real reason. But what's your side of the story? Yeah, that. That way, if something was said, we'll hopefully get the truth out of him. Okay. I mean, it's worth a try. The radio host, a guy named Jeff who sounded like he'd had too much coffee and not enough soul, rubbed his hands together. All right, Carrie. We've got Dan's number. We're going to patch him in. Remember, stay quiet until we give you the signal. I gripped my phone, my knuckles turning white. Okay. I'm ready. I wasn't ready. My stomach felt like I'd swallowed a bag of rocks. I loved Dan. It had only been 8 months, but it was the kind of 8 months that felt like 10 years in the best way. He was steady. He was mature. He didn't play games until Sunday. Dialing now, the female host, Marie, whispered. The ringtone echoed through my car speakers. Once. Twice. Hello. Dan's voice. It sounded tired. Hi, is this Dan? Jeff asked, putting on his best buddy voice. Who's this? Dan, this is Jeff and Marie from the Morning Mix. You're on the air. We're calling because we've got someone on the line who really misses you. There was a silence on the other end so heavy it felt like static. Oh, God, Dan muttered. Carrie. I'm here, Dan, I blurted out, ignoring Jeff's hand signal to wait. I'm here, and I need to know. Was it my uncle? Did someone say something to you downstairs? Carrie, don't do this, Dan said. His voice wasn't angry, it was pained. I told you, we just moved too fast. We know that's not true, man, Jeff interjected. Come on, Dan. She says everything was perfect until the Redskins game. What happened in the basement? Did Papa Bear scare you off? Scare me off? Dan let out a dark, humorless laugh. You think I'm scared of him? Then what? I pleaded. Dan, please. You owe me an explanation. I don't owe you anything, Carrie. But I owe my own father a lot more. The line went dead silent. What does that mean? Marie asked, confused. You really don't know, do you? Dan asked, his voice trembling with a suppressed rage I'd never heard before. You have no idea who that man in the recliner actually is. He's my dad, I said, my voice shaking. He's a retired foreman. He's not a foreman, Carrie. Ask him about 2008. Ask him about the bridge project in Baltimore. And ask him about a man named Marcus Vance. Who is Marcus Vance? Jeff asked, sensing the drama goldmine. My father, Dan said. The man your dad sent to prison to save his own skin. Click. The line went dead. The radio station offered to pay for a cab, or a therapy session, or whatever liability coverage they usually threw at guests when a segment went off the rails, but I just hung up. I sat in my car in the parking lot of my apartment complex, staring at the dashboard. My hands were shaking. Marcus Vance. I knew that name. It was a ghost in my childhood. A name whispered at dinner tables when the adults thought the kids were watching cartoons. A name associated with the bad times, before we moved to the big house, before Dad bought the boat. I put the car in reverse and started driving. Not to Dan's place. To my parents. The drive usually took 40 minutes, I made it in 25. When I pulled into the driveway, the house looked different. It didn't look like the warm, chaotic home where we hosted 30 people for Thanksgiving. It looked like a fortress built on secrets. I burst through the front door. My mom was in the kitchen, wiping down the counters. Carrie, honey, what are you doing here? You should be at work. Where's Dad? He's in the den, watching the replay of the... I marched past her, down the hall, and threw open the door to the den. My dad, Big Mike, was sitting in his leather recliner, the same spot he'd been in when Dan left him on Thursday. He looked up, smiling. Hey, sweetie, what a surprise. You want a soda? Who is Marcus Vance? The smile didn't fade, but it froze. It became a mask. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. My dad reached for the remote and muted the TV. Where did you hear that name? He asked quietly. Dan, I said. My boyfriend. The one who walked out on Thanksgiving. His last name isn't Miller, is it? It's Vance. My dad let out a long, heavy sigh. He looked older suddenly. The vigor of the Big Mike persona drained away, leaving a tired old man. I knew he looked familiar, Dad muttered. I couldn't place him. He had his mother's eyes. But when he started talking about the union, I had a feeling. Did you send his father to prison? It's complicated, Carrie. Did you? I testified, Dad said, his voice hardening. It was the company or us. Someone had to take the fall for the corners that were cut on the concrete pour. Marcus was, he was the project manager. I was the foreman. I had 3 kids. He had a son. You framed him, I whispered. It wasn't a question. I did what I had to do to put food on this table, Dad roared, slamming his hand on the armrest. To pay for your college. To buy this house. Marcus Vance was a good man, but he was soft. He wouldn't have survived the investigation anyway. I made a deal. And what happened to him? Dad looked away. He hanged himself in his cell 6 months into a 5-year sentence. The air left my lungs. Dan. My Dan. He was 35. That meant he was around 19 or 20 when his father died. When his life fell apart. While I was running around in the backyard of a house paid for by his father's destruction. He was downstairs with you, I said, tears streaming down my face. For 3 hours. We talked work, Dad said, shrugging defensively. I told a few stories. Maybe I bragged a little about how I handled the '08 crisis. I didn't know who he was. You bragged. I felt sick. You bragged to the son of the man you destroyed about how you got away with it. I didn't know. I turned around and ran. Dan's apartment was in a part of the city my dad always told me to avoid. It was a walk-up, 3rd floor. I banged on the door until my fist hurt. Go away, Carrie, came the muffled voice from inside. Open the door, Dan, or I swear to God I will scream fire and kick it down. Locks tumbled. The door opened. Dan looked terrible. He hadn't shaved in days. His eyes were red. He was wearing the same flannel shirt he'd worn on Thanksgiving. You talked to him, he said. It wasn't a question. I did. He stepped back, leaving the door open. I walked in. The apartment was sparse, neat. On the coffee table was a bottle of whiskey and a stack of old legal pads. I didn't know, I said. Dan, you have to believe me. I didn't know. I believe you, he said, collapsing onto the sofa. That's the worst part. You're innocent in all of it. You're just the beneficiary. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me your real last name? Because I wanted to escape it, he said, staring at the ceiling. I changed my name 10 years ago. I wanted a life where I wasn't the convict's kid. And then I met you. And you were so light. You were so unburdened. It was addictive. He sat up, looking at me with an intensity that frightened me. I didn't know who your dad was until I saw the photos on the mantel. Big Mike. The man my dad called the night he was arrested. The man my dad trusted. And then downstairs. I prompted. Downstairs, Dan said, his voice dropping to a whisper. He started telling the guys about the Baltimore job. He was laughing about it, Carrie. He was drinking a beer and laughing about how he swapped the logbooks. He called my father the patsy. He said, if you want to survive in this business, you gotta find yourself a patsy. Dan's hands were shaking. I was sitting 3 feet away from the man who murdered my father, and he was laughing about it. I wanted to kill him. I physically wanted to reach across that coffee table and end him. He looked at me, tears spilling over. That's why I left. Because if I stayed 1 more minute, I would have done something that would have taken me away from you forever in a different way. I walked over and sat next to him, but I didn't touch him. The space between us felt like a canyon. So, what now? I asked. Now? Dan laughed sadly. Carrie, look at me. Every time I look at you, I see him. I see the house his lies bought. I see the comfort his betrayal paid for. I love you. God help me, I love you. But I can't sit at a Thanksgiving table with that man and pass him the potatoes. I can't let him hold our future children. He's an old man, I said weakly. He did something terrible, but he's not just an old man. He's a monster who thinks he's a hero. Dan stood up. You have to go. No. Carrie, please. No. I stood up too. I am not my father. I am not his crimes. I am the woman who has loved you for 8 months. I am the woman who is standing here right now, choosing you. Dan looked at me, stunned. You can't choose me. That's your family. My family is a lie, I said, the realization settling over me like a cold blanket. I just watched my father justify a man's suicide because it bought him a boat. That's not a family I want to protect anymore. You say that now, Dan said, shaking his head. But blood is thick. In a month, You'll resent me for making you walk away from them. Try me. The next 6 months were a blur of pain and silence. I moved out of my parents' house, or rather, stopped visiting, since I already had my own place, but the emotional severance was harder. My mother called every day for the first 2 weeks. She cried. She begged. She told me I was throwing my life away for a criminal's son who was poisoning my mind. Dad never called. Not once. His pride was a fortress that nothing could breach. I moved in with Dan. It wasn't the romantic, happy cohabitation I had dreamed of. It was quiet. We were 2 refugees in a small apartment, bound together by a shared trauma. Dan had nightmares. Sometimes he'd wake up shouting. Other times, I'd find him just staring out the window at the city lights. But we also had moments of fierce, desperate love. We held on to each other like we were drowning. We were rebuilding trust, not in each other, but in the world. Then came the letter. It was addressed to me, in my dad's handwriting. It arrived 8 months after the breakup, on a Tuesday. I left it on the kitchen counter for 3 days. Finally, Dan opened it while I was in the shower. When I walked out, towel wrapped around my hair, he was holding the paper, his face pale. Read it, he said. I took the letter. Caroline. The doctor says it's my heart. Irony, isn't it? Your mother says I don't have one. I'm not going to apologize for what I did in 2008. I did what I had to do for my family. But a man has a lot of time to think when he's dying. I have a safe deposit box at First National. Key is enclosed. Inside is the deed to the lake house and a check. It's for him. It's for the boy. It's not enough. It never will be. But it's everything that's left of the money from that job. I don't expect you to come to the hospital. But I hope you have a good life. Dad. I looked up at Dan. He's dying. Dan stared at the check in the envelope. It was for a substantial amount. He thinks he can buy me off. Even now. No, I said softly. He knows he can't. That's why he's giving it all away. He's emptying the account. Big Mike died 3 weeks later. The funeral was massive. 30 people. Try 300. Union guys, cousins, neighbors. Everyone spoke about what a great man he was. The provider. The rock. I sat in the front row, wearing black, dry-eyed. Dan was not with me. We had agreed it would be too much. He was waiting in the car in the back of the lot. During the eulogy, my Uncle Tommy, the one who had laughed the loudest at the football game, stood up. Mike was a man of integrity, he boomed. I stood up. The church went silent. No, he wasn't, I said. My voice was small, but it carried in the silence. Carrie, sit down, my mother hissed, grabbing my wrist. I pulled away. I walked to the podium. Uncle Tommy looked at me, confused, then stepped aside. I looked out at the sea of faces. The people who had eaten his food and laughed at his jokes. My father loved his family, I said. He loved us so much that he destroyed another family to keep us comfortable. He wasn't a hero. He was a man who made a terrible choice, and we all lived on the interest of that sin. A murmur went through the crowd. I'm not here to ruin his memory, I continued, my voice gaining strength. I'm here to tell the truth. Because the truth is the only thing that can actually clean the slate. He left everything he gained from that choice to the son of the man he wronged. And that is the only heroic thing he ever did. It took him dying to do it. I stepped down. The silence was deafening. I walked down the center aisle, past the staring eyes of my aunts and cousins. I walked out the heavy oak doors into the blinding sunlight. Dan was leaning against his car, wearing a dark suit. He had heard the broadcast over the outdoor speakers. He didn't say anything. He just opened the passenger door. Did I do the right thing? I asked, my legs finally shaking. Dan looked at the church, then at me. He reached out and took my hand. His grip was warm, solid. You didn't choose the easy thing, he said. You chose the real thing. Where do we go now? We go to the bank, Dan said, starting the engine. And then we donate every cent of that money to the Innocence Project. I smiled, the first real smile I'd felt in a week. And the lake house? We sell it, he said. And we buy a place of our own. Something small. Something clean. Something that belongs to us. As we drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror. The church was shrinking in the distance, just a small white speck against the vast blue sky. I reached over and turned on the radio. Coming up next, the DJ said, we have a crazy story about a woman who found her husband's secret family. You won't believe this one. I reached out and turned the radio off. We didn't need other people's stories anymore. We finally had our own.